A wholehearty welcome and a very good morning to each and every one of you. It's absolutely my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to one of its kind cafe webinar series where we get to come together and really do some brainstorming as IBG has always taught us to really think of ideas and be really creative. As Mr. Vikash always says, that you stay where your mind is. I want all your minds to be here with us because we are pretty much excited to have with us the CEO India ELOS International Media Limited, Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi here with us, who's going to really talk about how do we manage business growth and operations at this point of time, where most of us are at home, where we have all the different and unique platforms in the entertainment business. As we always say, दुनिया सिर्फ तीन चीजों पे चलती है, that is entertainment, entertainment and entertainment. But where is the entertainment? That is the big question for which we have Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi. So Pradeep, at first I'd like to welcome you. Absolutely an honor for all of us to have you here.
Thank you.
A very good morning to you.
My good morning to you and all the IBG members. It's so lovely to see everybody taking time this Friday morning to be here. I'm delighted, and I hope that I will be able to share some insights that will add value to not just your entertainment life, but also your business lives. Thank you.
Yes, so we're really looking forward to a great session. At first, to all my lovely friends, India Business Group Chamber of Commerce is one of its kind where you have the business platform to really explore all your creativity, have your visions intact and put it into a reality. And we are so excited and thrilled to the IBG group because IBG is already international. So we have people now, we go international and we have international people who come here to us. All these cafe webinar series are one of its kind, where we really go as wide as we can with our visions, since we all stay in our mind. So we are truly excited to start our session. It's time for me to introduce you to all of you to that magnificent gentleman, Mr. Vikash Mitase, who is the chairman and managing director of the Nazara Technologies. And everywhere on every television channel nowadays, I see Nazara everywhere. And what a Nazara to have! It's like a treat. See Nazara everywhere. What to do? It's a gaming world these days, and everything is on the tip of our fingers. And the founder of the Indian Business Group, India Business Group, Vikash, thank you so much at first. Were you giving, simple people, ordinary people to live extraordinary lives just by thinking extraordinary, and that is only possible because of you. Well, the author of absolutely amazing books. I must also say he's already penned down his fourth and fifth book as well, which will be launched very soon. He's also a very young radio jockey and he really hits the airwaves with his great interviews and really inspires everyone of every generation. It's truly an honor for all of us to welcome. I know it's a very, very business arena altogether, so I'm going to be a little bit formal and welcome. I call him Doctor because of his expertise in all the endeavors. Maybe please welcome Dr. Vikash Mitase. Hello, Vikash. A very good morning to you. Absolutely an honor, to see you early this morning. Over to you, Vikash. Thank you.
So that is too much of an introduction. Next time, keep it shorter.
Sorry, I apologize. Sure.
And when you say doctor, let me give you a small background. I went to Mumbai University saying that I want to do a PhD. They said, what is your education background? And then they told me, sorry, you're uneducated. You can't be admitted for a PhD thing. So I think I'll buy one soon. No, not really. Not really. So, okay, so we welcome Pradeep Dwivedi. He's an extraordinary person to know, to work with. The things that he does, most of us can't even imagine to start to do. So I think it's better that we hear him rather than me. So go on, Simran.
Sure. That's so kind of you. And, this is what every business entrepreneur would say. Please speak less and work more. So that is exactly what I'm going to do now. And hand it over to our very beautiful CEO, Priya Pansari. Thank you, Priya, for coordinating everything and bringing us together. Priya, please, can we hear from you? How are you doing this morning?
Thank you so much, Simran. I'm definitely doing good, and a very warm welcome to Pradeep. Pradeep, it's an honor to have you on IBG's platform. Pradeep has been with IBG since a couple of years now, and today, we both, Vikash sir and me, know lot about you, but then we want our audience to know little more. And over to you, Pradeep. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vikashji and Priyaji. I really appreciate the opportunity. And, IBG is always like family. I'm always happy to engage, interact with the forum. And more than just sharing, I think I must say that I've been learning a lot from the forum as well. And I think that is the beauty and that is the charm of this forum. So I'll let the master of, or the boss of ceremonies, Simran, lead the agenda for how she wants to take it forward. Simran, I'm all yours.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Please allow me, a 90-second introduction so that we could really frame our questions well and start brainstorming. To speak a few words about a legend who's here with us from the media and entertainment world. I call him a young legend, absolutely. Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi, the CEO India Eros International Media Limited. As the CEO India for Eros Media Limited, he's responsible for managing business growth and operations of the company and is also responsible for all the commercial negotiations and representations in various markets, forums, customers, vendors, and regulatory authorities. He's qualified BSc MBA and as a senior media industry professional, he's been absolutely rocking the advertising and the media business, telecom, technology enterprises, banking and financial services institutions and automotive sector, etc., etc. His credentials are absolutely massive and we are truly, truly honored and blessed to have him here with us. I'm going to take and talk about him more as we have the questions and we'll start with, of course, the situation right now, Pradeep, the COVID and what is the demand regards the OTTS platforms? And please tell us, how can we make the most out of this point of time?
So, when you put the consumer lens, clearly OTTs have had no better time than the recent few months. I think the situation is unfortunate and I really hope that everybody is staying safe and, practicing social distancing, not just in their homes, but in their communities and, when they step out, etc. Because these are indeed challenging times. I think the underlying need for entertainment as a consumer never really goes away. I think even from, centuries ago, people used to watch plays or sing songs and have folklores. And I think that translated into various kind of content formats. And today you have OTTs as yet another means of delivering timeless stories to audiences to keep them engaged, to entertain them, and also to take away some of the humdrum or challenges of their day-to-day living and take them to a universe which is based on ideas, which is based on imagination, and which is based on giving a certain sense of relaxation. And mental relaxation leads to physical relaxation. So I think it has been extremely useful to see people engaging and embracing OTT in a very significant way. And I know this is a business forum, so you'll have to flag me when you want me to cover the business side of it. I think when you look at the business side of it as well, anybody who's part of the entertainment value chain, whether it is people who are content producers, writers, authors, storytellers, people who are good at photography, for all of them, this has been a time for introspection of figuring out how do we create the next wave of compelling content that really, excites audiences going along. Everybody puts everything in the very short or narrow banner of the COVID situation right now and think that every content that will come out of this will actually be COVID led. While, there will definitely be some content around that. I think it is giving authors and writers a great deal of time to sit back and think through wonderful stories, not necessarily related to COVID. And I can bet that in the next couple of years, when we are out of this pandemic situation, you will have some amazing stories coming out, whether as web original, short formats, movies, etc. So pretty exciting times for everybody in the industry.
Wow, now this really sounds pretty much exciting. Not as much as everyone has been thinking, especially in the entertainment business, but you really made us pretty much excited. So what about movies which really want to go towards the OTT platforms? What about the revenue generation there? Do you think it's worth it after spending so much of money thinking about it will all be launched on the big screen and now thinking about OTT platforms? So how is the ratio there?
Right. So you see, the movies going straight to OTTs is more a factor of commerce and a factor of the demand patterns in the market, right? Because of the 4-month lockdown that is going on, and most likely from every indication will continue for a little bit more time. The new content production has come to a halt. Obviously, OTTs and television channels thrive on having fresh content available. In fact, a recent report that BARC, which is the Broadcast Audience Research Council, came out with, along with Nielsen, said that the television consumption of general entertainment channels actually dropped in the last 3 to 4 month period, not just in India, but worldwide. And genres such as movies, news, and kids entertainment program actually took an uptake. So the bottom line is that When you look at it from a supply side situation of producers investing significant amount of money in producing a movie, paying, a significant amount of money to the stars and the talent that is there, the ability to monetize that movie in a windowing pattern, which is to start with theatrical, go for television, go for digital, would have been the most logical approach. And every cinema creator, whether it's a producer or a director, have this vision of seeing it on the silver screen, seeing it on the large screen, because that is really where the magic of the movies come out. But when you're constrained in a situation that you cannot take it to the theater because it obviously has the hazard of social distancing not perhaps adequately available, everybody wants to make sure that the audience gets to see the work that they've done. So it's a labor of love that they want to see. The other thing clearly is that they can't really bear the financial burden of having invested in it. If you look at a broad number pattern, and as we are all business people, so when you start calculating number, even if you have 4 movies releasing every weekend, and let's talk Hindi Bollywood only, every weekend, and you have 50 weeks in a year, so you would have at best 200 movies finding theatrical release on a Friday evening, right? But the number of movies that are made in India are close to 1,000 or a little over that every year. So there is definitely a large number of movies which were either going straight to DVD, straight to television, etc., etc. And the current situation is not very different. I think what has happened is that some large banner movies and some big sounding movies that people were waiting for have either been announced as coming onto OTT, or people are expecting that they'll come in. Movies like, whether you look at Suryavanshi, you look at 83, and Gulabo Sitabo has been a good example where, Shujit Sarkar's movie was sort of played on by Amazon. And all of us are aware that Hotstar and, Netflix and a couple of other streaming platforms, including the one that we have, which is largely a movie destination, have an exciting lineup of movies lined up. So it's an interesting space where you will see the creative work coming onto the screens very quickly. From audience perspective, it's a manna from heaven. They can get to see all the latest movie without stepping out of their home and staying safe, and also making sure that they get to see something new that others are not able to see right now. So all in all, I think it's a win-win situation. The people who are losing in the bargain clearly are theatrical distribution people, and that is unfortunate. And I don't think anybody has, any vested agenda in making the theater guys suffer. It is just the situation is such that we want to, make sure that content is out, and yet theaters are not available. You look at big producers like Chris Nolan, who does movies like Inception, and he's got a new movie coming up, Tenet. I mean, he's refusing to put it on any streaming platform. He's saying, I'll wait for the theaters to open and only then put it up. You look at the new James Bond movie, which was expected in February and is now pushed out to November in the hope that by then theatrical scenario will open. So yes, it's a mixed bag right now, but I think the consumer is the winner, and I think consumer demand is what ultimately will drive which movie is going to OTT and which movie is not. Now, from an economic perspective, some movies may lose some money, but movie money making is not a 1 year or a 6 month exercise. Typically, content. I mean, there is an audience right in the forum that we have right now of people who still watch Mughal Azam, people who still watch Guru Dutt movies. There are people who still watch, Sunny Deol movies from 80s, Betab kind of movies, and there are people who watch international cinema. So the content never really goes away. The broadcasting medium, whether it is OTT or tomorrow there may be something new coming out of it. You spoke about the technology investments and gaming that Nazara and Vikashji runs so admirably. Who knows, tomorrow there may be a universe, and that is the emerging technology, that like PUBG or Fortnite, where you are an active player in a game, you might be an active player in a movie, and your movie experience will actually be determined by you being a participant in the movie, either active or passive, and experiencing it completely differently. So the wonderful thing is technology keeps marching on. We all try to keep pace with technology, but audiences, especially younger audiences, the millennial audiences now and the younger generation that is born after 2010 and now 10 years old and understand content in a very significant way, they will discover their own way of figuring out the best way to consume this content, and the kind of stories that they will consume will remain timeless. They'll just keep changing formats.
Pradeep, there are already so many set of questions, and I'm really, really excited. Oh my God. So everyone, who are connected to the film world, entertainment world, so please tell us, for everyone, what are the global trends going on these days, where everything is on the tip of your fingers and we are just operating from the four walls from our place? What are the global trends which can help everyone explore and get into that arena as well?
Sure. So there are 3-4 dimensions on which there are significant business opportunities as for anybody associated with this industry. I think first and foremost, clearly, the supply of content is the lifeline. It is the blood that flows in the stream and makes the whole body work. if you don't have fresh, compelling content, you can't survive in this business. So anybody who's great at creating content, curating content, and curating means you already have different kinds of content, but mixing it up to come up with new ones. And the content need not all be feature films only. If you can do short format videos, I mean, let's face it, before the TikTok ban happened, there was this whole economy in India, which was built on fact of people doing 30 to 45 second videos and uploading there, and the TikTok stars were becoming biggest influencers. Now you may say that, okay, they are young kids and they're just doing this for fun, but there are people who are actually making significant amount of money out of it. It was business for them. These are young entrepreneurs who are finding and discovering a new way of creating content and monetizing content on a platform that affords and allows them to do that, right? So for everybody in the content value chain, it is an important opportunity. The other dimension that I would say is that because of the way the technology is changing, the consumption patterns are changing. Obviously, instead of cable television or direct to home, a lot more internet-based smart devices are coming up. Televisions are coming up which have smart apps pre-installed in them. So people who are in the technology value chain need to understand the shift from the legacy coaxial broadcast, local cable broadcast ecosystem into what the digital technologies is holding for them. Anybody who can either supply technology or provide the infrastructure and network services that enables the service will have a great opportunity going forward, whether they work in tandem with some of the telecom operators or they work independently. And then there is this whole new segment of people who are in the digital universe or the digital economy. These are people who write codes, who write apps. So anybody who can think of innovating ways of putting this content out there or creating innovative advertising to be able to monetize the content that is being put out there will be able to gain a lot. I think it's important that we keep engaging with whatever is happening in the rest of the universe to find out what opportunities is there. So I'll give you one example. Jeffrey Katzenberg, a very famous Hollywood producer, has launched an application called Quibi, Quibi. Please check it out. It's a format where there are short format videos that are coming out. It is primed for your small screen, although you can sort of broadcast it and cast it on your television screens as well. And it tells short format stories anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes extremely well. At Eros Now as well, we have the quickie format, which is a 12 to 15-minute format, where we put out very interesting stories. Now, obviously production halted during this period, but that did not stop the entrepreneurial spirit of the people in the production ecosystem. So our chief content officer, Ridhima Lula, what she did, she got all the talent and the directors together and said, even if people are sitting at their own home, why can't we make a web series? And she ended up making one. It's called The Viral Wedding, where this girl who's about to get married gets locked down because everything's got locked down in mid-March. So she and her fiance and the pandit and the friends and the neighbors, how everybody sort of pulls resources together and amazingly makes the wedding happen. So, the innovation that is inherent in human spirit comes out. And I think while, it is a cliche and everybody says, oh, be innovative, do good, innovative things in business. I think innovation is not a rocket science. It is to identify emerging trends and find where those trends are heading to find business opportunities. I think anybody who can do anything on technology, digital content would definitely be gaining from it. The other aspect that will also gain significance from a business perspective is just the distribution side of it. And when it says distribution, again, understanding the digital ecosystem and digital promotion, whether it is sales, marketing, influencer management, all of those digital marketing capabilities will be extremely important, not just for our business, for practically any business. Whether you sell plastic chairs or you sell China wares or you sell movies or you sell songs, right? The ability to connect people through digital medium is going to be extremely important because that is where the market is moving.
Wow. That was absolutely in-depth, experience that you shared with us. So this is for everyone. We're going to have Mr. Pradeep's email ID, so in case you need to connect with him, but do remember to go through that. It's QUIBI. Go to that site, and if you have something, at least you might get some bright ideas. What about the AR, VR, the gaming scenario, and the new gaming universe, which has emerged all of a sudden? What do you have to say about that?
Right. So that's a very interesting part of the ecosystem development. So, people have always looked at augmented reality and virtual reality as maybe fun stuff for cool kids to do and not really a mainstream business. There have been obviously applications of augmented and virtual reality in medical sciences, for example, to figure out how a tissue culture or a surgery can potentially happen. And it's been used as a learning tool. So there is an application on the gaming side and there's an application on the learning and education side. What people don't realize is that the whole content creation side will also gain massively from it. I earlier spoke about the fact that games like PUBG or Fortnite have these virtual universes which feel near real, right? I mean, PUBG may not be that high resolution, but if you look at Fortnite, which is an Epic Games leading game, you are practically a combatant in the war that is going on. Now, imagine the ability to use the capabilities that they have to create virtual universes for the talent themselves. So, for example, they have a technology called Unreal Engine, which we are partnered with them, at least at Eros, which allows us to create virtual universes at a very low cost and yet give very high quality content, right? Now, imagine the Mahabharata or the Ramayana that you've traditionally been seeing, you have seen them in the context of a socio-cultural context and a religious context. But imagine if they were to be like Marvel Avengers universe, where Krishna is like Iron Man equivalent. Just imagine the similarity, right? And the ability to do stories which are fundamentally coming from Indian ethos, Indian culture, and yet are rooted in the formats that are appealing to the audiences today. You can do so much more on that. In fact, the whole OTT ecosystem, we firmly believe, will graduate towards an ecosystem where virtual reality technologies will play a significant role. Even today, and as people who are associated with the industry would know, post-production and visual effects works have a lot of role to make sure that the fit and finesse and the ultimate quality of the movie that comes out to the audiences is, significantly better than how when it was originally shot. I don't need to tell people that, when they take their own selfies, how many selfie filters and apps they use to make them look like really awesome. And imagine that, but at an extremely high quality, done extremely efficiently and done for videos. Now, if you imagine that universe, then you can figure out what kind of opportunities exist there and what kind of content you will get to see in times to come.
Pradeep, everyone is really venturing out into something, which goes for the masses. And as you said, Ramayana has picked up so much, where we have all the legends, when we do shows with them, they say, you missed our Ramayana. I mean, suddenly we see all the generations have got towards, that really, really different trend. So for a businessman, as an entrepreneur, how do you really get to know, if you are into the world of advertising and films, how do you really get to know what is the best place or which venture to really invest in at this point of time? Is it safe to do that at first?
Absolutely. See, people tend to get conservative when times are tough. I think it is important in a business to conserve cash, and I think that's a factor that Vikashji has also kind of shared with the forum on multiple forums, not just on webinars, but in in-person meetings as well. Because in business, cash is king. If you are able to do an effective cash management and you are able to control your receivables and manage your payables well, you will have a good business model. More importantly, I think from a business perspective, it is extremely important to look at the opportunities that this current situation is offering. Coming out of this situation, coming out of COVID, what are the kind of areas that will open up first, will allow for new investment opportunities. If you already have a line of business, you need to figure out how do you expand and make the consumer demand met. Now, obviously, we've been restricted to just essentials for a few months, and only now the e-commerce deliveries, etc., have started. So anybody who's into supplying of products, etc., you want to figure out how to identify your prospective audiences from a digital universe and reach out to them, and that's going to be an extremely important skill. Traditionally, I mean, if you're supplying a particular product, you know that there is certain concentration of buyers and traders for a particular area, and you're supplying only to them. But now you have to figure out there is a universe out there which is going to be consuming your content, consuming your product, and you need to figure out a way to reach that last consumer. Very interesting disruption on the supply side as well. And I think that, to my mind, provides a bigger opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen, especially in the small to medium enterprises and even slightly large enterprises as well. Look, there is this concerted nationalistic sentiment currently against imported products, especially from a certain large neighbor of ours, right? Uh, I think there is a politics of it. There is a nationalistic sentiment of it, and I'm not going to get into that. I think as a country, we obviously feel very proud about ourselves. But look at the business opportunity here. The supply chains have got disrupted. Just the amount of range of products and the quantity of products that we were importing from this country has come to a complete standstill. Even the supplies that have come in are stuck up in long inspections at the borders. So it is important to figure out which are the products that were highly in demand. Is there any way that we can, create and deliver it within India itself and capture on that market opportunity? When this whole COVID situation happened, I was amazed to see people with masks, gloves, coming up with, production facilities, homemade solutions, So the entrepreneurial spirit of people in India, and especially the active members of IBG, is such a high one that there are enough and more opportunities to do stuff around the entertainment business as well. Now, obviously, I cannot have a prescription which is valid for everybody, but all I can say is that if you have a startup idea, if you are doing something distinctive in the area of entertainment, digital, OTT, television, music, please feel free to reach out to us. We will be happy to see if there is any way we can support your business, invest in it, create opportunities for growth, or create market opportunities. And I think that's what this forum is all about.
This is pretty much exciting, and we truly look forward to getting in touch with you. As I said, we'll be sharing the email ID of Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi. Pradeep, before we go to the Q&A, we have already set off almost 40 questions. But my last question to you is, how do you really tell everyone from this arena, the artist arena or the entertainment sector, to deal with stress and depression? Right from Bollywood to South Film Fraternity, we have people who are taking drastic steps. Something which is convincing for them and telling them to hold on, you still have the better world coming very soon.
Yeah, I think, I'm no psychologist, and I don't think I have the ability to give professional advice. As a professional who personally manages significant levels of professional stress due to work situations and, obviously the economic situations as well, my fallback mechanism is all I can share. And my fallback mechanism is a close group of friends with whom we exchange thoughts and notes and ideas and conversations and web calls on every subject under the sun, perhaps outside of what we do in our day-to-day lives, right? I think it is extremely important to reach out to your friends and families if you're feeling left out, if you're feeling stressed for any reason. The human life is invaluable. There is no substitute for it. A Mahatma Gandhi gone cannot be brought back. A Sushant Singh Rajput gone cannot be brought back. So every life is unique, and every life is even if you may believe in the concept of punarjanam and rebirth, etc., that's all in the realm of imagination. The reality is, this is the one life that that has been given to us. It's important that we make the most of it, and when we are feeling challenged, help out, seek out help. And at the same time, I think a larger set of us who are not perhaps facing this challenge need to be aware of our friends and associates who may be undergoing some of these things. So have passion, compassion, be kind, be friendly to people. If you can avoid aggravation, please avoid it. People are locked up at home. It's a stressful situation, not the best of times to raise stress levels or anything. So if you can avoid it, please avoid it. And have your faith, have your spirituality, whatever God or higher being or higher power that you believe in, pray to them, have your moments of peace, and keep something that keeps you centered, whether it is reading, listening to music, watching OTT. Do that.
Sure. Thank you so much. Pradeep, Vikash would like to know that will the theaters really survive?
Vikashji, I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I would say 100% they will survive.
Oh.
The reason for that is very simple. Over a period of time, if you look at the 700-800 year history also of the organized entertainment, as I would like to call it, from street plays, moving on to Shakespearean kind of plays happening in smaller arenas, the march of technology has always led to a situation where people believe that the entertainment venues will go away. And I don't look at theater as a theater per se. I look at it as an entertainment venue. Today, theaters are actually combination of malls come, eating out places come, this thing, and some of the things, some of the PVR or Inox facilities, if you've gone, I mean, they're really world class, and the quality of food and the service that you get is better than some of the 5-star hotels. So clearly, these are experience zones. When in late 80s, the VHS cassette started coming up, everybody said, oh, abhi to everybody will put VHS, VCD, at home, and theaters will die. Theaters still survived. In fact, multiplexes started coming up. Then VCD came, same story. DVD came, same story. Internet came, same story. OTT came, same story. I'm telling you, the format of consumption may change. The technology through which people consume entertainment may change. But the cinema business and the theaters to a large extent will continue to survive. Even in the US, it's a very interesting example. When the theaters got shut down, and obviously some of the chains actually had to sort of completely ask people not to come at all, there is a big resurgence of drive-in theaters in the US. So large football stadiums that are being unused, large grounds that are being revived, people are sitting in there, like early 50s or 60s, sitting in their cars and eating popcorns and watching movies on large grounds. And that's the trend, perhaps for the next few years till this COVID vaccine is found. And then we will go back to our theaters with gusto.
Wow, that's pretty much interesting. And I think, Vikash, we could have the IBG webinars too in huge places where we're sitting and we're watching Pradeep the way we do this. Pradeep, we have a question from Ajay Riya who says, why just actors, the crews like technicians, assistant directors, light and spot boys need attention to? Ab sab ghar baithe hain. Sitting at home, everyone is self doing everything. What about them?
No, I completely agree. And I think it is a tough situation. And, especially for people who are not like in a regular employment, but work on project to project basis, these are tough times. And, one only hopes that they find the strength to kind of deal with the current situation. Obviously, the common refrain would be that the government needs to do something about it. I think as an industry, and as a participant of the industry, as a company, we are cognizant of the teams that work with us and are trying to take care of them. But if somebody is, let's say, an independent contractor, whether a light boy or a sound stage technician, etc., and you may not have a regular employment, etc., uh, there is a tough situation on the ground. There is a reality that everybody has to face. And I'm hoping that with their savings and with some level of work that they're able to do on a remote basis, they're able to do some earnings to kind of tide over the situation. There are some loans and some facilities available from government that people can avail of. I think a large part of the government's support has gone to people at the most lowest of economic classification, migrants who have gone hundreds of kilometers back to their homes through schemes of ration, etc., etc. So what happens is that the middle class, hardworking population tends to not get the support from the businesses that they are working with, and don't get the support from the government as well. So I know it is a tough situation. I'm frankly, I really don't have a clear answer as to what the solution for that is. All I can say is that, look, keep your spirits up. It's been 3 months, and Maharashtra government has come out with the regulations allowing productions to recommence. Different states in different parts of the country are allowing businesses to recommence. I know of a big OTT player that has leased out Ramoji Film City in Hyderabad and moving all of its productions there for the next couple of years. So there is perhaps, I know it's not easy always to relocate, but look at opportunities in markets where, situation is open right now. I know Bollywood is Bollywood and there's no substitute for it. But if you are a sound technician, if you are a stage person, if you are a makeup person, there is the Bengali cinema, there is Tamil, Telugu cinema, and there could be opportunities there. I'm not saying it's a ready fix, but there's no harm in checking out. Look, to overcome any adversity, you also have to do something which is not. If you keep doing what you have done, then you will keep getting what you have got. So if you want something new, then you'll have to, come out of your comfort zone and take some risks.
All right. Thank you so much on that note. And, since we already have a few Bollywood movies which are supposed to release in theaters now, planning to be released on the OTT platform. So Mr. Vikash has this question that how is the revenue for movies releasing on digital platforms versus place of theaters? So from revenue perspective, how much profit are they losing out on if it's not releasing in the theater and on OTT platform?
So, there's no one firm fixed answer for that. Let me just give you the value chain of how revenue typically comes for a movie content. So when you make a movie, you have a theatrical window. Traditional model is you have a theatrical window where you exploit it for anywhere up to 3 to 6 months. Then you have a window of television premieres, which you do it for another 6 to 9 months. And parallelly, you sell it for, longer periods of rights. And then you have the digital rights, which get sold out parallelly. And then you have the long tail of value chain, as we call it, which is whether it is CD, DVD creation, in-flight entertainment, etc., local cable operators who all sort of buy those rights. Now, one is a geographical view. So let's say theaters in India, television in India, digital in India. And then there are overseas opportunities. Fortunately for people in South Asia and India, there are Indian origin population in UK, US, Canada, pretty much any part of the world you go to, you can find Indian restaurant, Indian people there. So there is demand for our content, across the world. So there is a monetization around that. Now, obviously, loss of theatrical window is a financial loss, and that is something that will show up in the P&L and balance sheets of most of the companies that are engaged in this business this year. But I do believe that the offsetting through digital is something that is happening well. For example, I don't know if you followed the Vicky Frames interview yesterday of some of the people who had released their movies on OTT platform. They actually ended up with a profit by going to an OTT platform and not really making any losses at all. And I think it's a combination of supply side economics as well. even the cost factors that go into making of a movie will now come under scrutiny. And I'm not saying that the stars will start getting paid any less suddenly, but you will see some level of understanding that, okay, if I was charging X earlier, maybe I'll charge 70% of X, and the balance 30% could be variable depending on the financial success of the movie. So it becomes a more participative model rather than one which is a dictating my price kind of a model. So, new economic models will emerge. And I think theatrical business, both from theatrical owners as well as the people who distribute movies into theaters, will continue to find the middle ground in terms of surviving. I'm pretty positive and hopeful about this.
Sure. Raj had a similar question, and then Mendra says there's much advancement happening technology, especially on the digital front. Do you think any possibilities of augmented reality getting augmented and contents being created for the OTT platforms?
Oh, absolutely. I referred to that in a little bit earlier. I absolutely believe augmented reality, virtual reality techniques, use of visual effects scenarios, use of technologies like Unreal Engine to create virtual universes and, hey, real universes as well is possible. I mean, if you have high resolution images of India Gate or Gateway of India, there is a possibility that you can see a star actor or actress dancing in front of that without them really being there. One very interesting area that is emerging in this VFX universe is the fact that there is going to be a convergence of gaming and entertainment in times to come. So that is something that you should definitely watch out for, because the concept of gaming will start getting taken a lot more seriously than it is being taken right now. And I'm not just talking about the whole esports scenario of stadiums, etc., but just the interactive gaming, the way it happens. And I know anybody who has Xbox or PS2 would have experienced it, that it becomes so engrossing and so engaging, and you don't have ad interruption today, right? Thank God for that. You will have a scenario where people will get gaming at much cheaper cost, subsidized perhaps by advertising. So there are interesting business models emerging.
Wow, really, really amazing. Now we have an interesting question from Corey, who says, we saw the merger with STX, which was finally approved by the Indian government.
Yeah.
When will you guys officially announce this to the world? Waiting on pins and needles.
Okay, great. Thanks. I thought we were going to address largely the industry questions on this with a specific question to Eros. So just to give the background to the rest of the audience, Eros International PLC, our parent company in the US, has merged with a Hollywood studio called STX Entertainment. Now, as with any such merger announcement, we announced ours in the third week of April, and it typically takes anywhere between 2.5, 3 months to close the merger. So the closing of the merger essentially means that you get all the governmental approvals from all the countries in which you operate. So we've already got the US antitrust approval. We've got the Indian government's regulatory approval from CCI, etc. And there's a bunch of other minor approvals and paperwork that needs to happen between lawyers and bankers. So it is just routine corporate stuff. Our expectation is that we should be able to announce the closing of the merger very shortly. Although I cannot commit to a definite timeline by when we'll do it, because obviously this is a legal matter, and I don't have all the information to be able to commit on it.
Sure, thank you. I mean, we know that's a similar thing. What does it mean to Eros after Eros STX merger?
Oh, that's something that I would love to talk about. I think we are very excited at this partnership, and this partnership will result in a new merged company. It is India's first major studio that has merged with an overseas studio. So you really have a Hollywood-Bollywood combination like never before. This is not a co-production of a single movie. This is two businesses working together. I mean, I will have offices in Bombay and in Los Angeles, and our teams will engage significantly. Obviously, the STX Filmworks team will continue to make a slate of Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, and we will continue to do a large slate of Bollywood movies as well. And yet there will be co-production possibilities on the creative front. And then there are opportunities of optimization on the technology front, like VFX, back-end operations. There's tons of stuff that we can do together. And then there are global markets to capture. So there is Latin America market opportunity. There is the Africa market opportunity. There is a Middle East opportunity. And while people may not like it, China market opportunity. Eventually, at some point of time, when this whole disconnect with China kind of subsides down, you will have a situation where we will realize that the Asian sensibilities of content, us appreciating Jackie Chan movies and them appreciating Aishwarya Rai movies, is very similar. Andhadhun, which was a Viacom movie which did pretty well, actually made more money in China on distribution than it did in India. So, there you have it. Content is universal. I think human race is universal. The political divide, etc., obviously will divide us for a while, but I think ultimately compelling stories will find a way to do that. In Eros STX, we want to tell compelling stories. That's our play. Just one last thing I'd like to share here, and I've shared this a couple of other times as well, but I think it's important. all of you who have seen Parasite as a movie, it's a Korean movie dubbed in English, Hindi, available on some of the streaming platforms, which won the best movie award in this year's Oscar Awards, and not just a foreign film. It won the overall best Oscar award. You see that movie. It's a pure play Korean movie set in Seoul with the Korean storyline, and yet there are elements of the story which are truly universal. Whether the aspiration of somebody who comes from an economically lower class to rise up, the affinity and love and affection in the between family members, the challenges that the society throws on people because of all kinds of divides on class, race, color, gender, etc., etc. And it deals with all of those issues so beautifully that you feel that you can relate to the entire story. Whether I'm living in Tanzania or I'm living in San Francisco, I can relate to that story. And again, I'm living in Bombay and I can relate to that story. So, if you tell universal stories, you will always be successful, and that's what we want to do at Eros STX as well.
That's interesting. Yusuf would like to know, what is the suggestion to the opportunity of being a content aggregator? Is there a market for independent films?
Oh, absolutely. There's a massive market for independent films. In fact, indie films, both in the US, Europe, Asia, have continued to do well. And I'm not just meaning indie films that are designed from a perspective of getting a very niche audience or an art house kind of a movie which wins a few festival awards and nobody really hears of it. I think there are independent productions that go on to do well. Now, obviously, the extent to which you can scale it up depends on your consistent ability to produce content one after the other. If you do a few movies, one or two, and then you're just trying to monetize it, you may perhaps have some success if the content is compelling, otherwise not. I mean, I'll just give an example here. If you look at Blumhouse Productions in the US, they do these scary horror movies and shot in a single house or a single context, etc. They're very low cost movies, and yet Blumhouse has become the gold standard on horror genre pretty much across the world, and they've built a huge business out of it. And there are now people that are trying to emulate that model. I would say whether you look at horror, you look at comedy, and coming out of COVID, I believe people should do more comedy and light content rather than heavy content. There is significant opportunity for indie films. And a lot of indie films, independent films, when they come out, actually also get the support of large studios and production houses if we see that the quality of content is good, right? So, for example, at Eros as well, we get multiple opportunities pitched to us for nice indie films. And if we believe it has a global market, we support those movies by partnering on distribution and dissemination. And if theatrical is not a possibility, we have a streaming platform as well, and a lot of others too. Most studios have, like, for example, I mean, I don't want to name each one of them, but there are studios and there are multiple OTT platforms. India itself has over 30 OTT platforms. I mean, there would be demand for your content. People are not getting content. So if you have films, please, you will be in demand. Please contact as many OTT guys as possible. The only point of difference or negotiation would be commercials and the kind of money that you can get. In business, that is always a bit of a give and take. I'm sure if the content is good, you'll get the right price for it.
Sure. Namrata has two questions. She says, will movies releasing in theaters be more festival driven, which has always been there, where big stars usually plan it at that point of time? And she'd also like to know that will producers in Bollywood come together and unite to put a cap on marketing and production budget in order to make economical profits?
So, see, I'll take the second one first, because the question is around the promotion and advertising and the marketing cost that goes into the movie. Look, it's an open economy. Anytime in any business in any country, when you put conditions restricting competition, you lead to a creation of inefficiency. Free markets are the best markets because free markets weeds out inefficiency and make sure that people who are taking the right set of risks and investments are rewarded. I firmly believe that the quantum of promotion and advertising to a movie has to have a significant linkage to the original cost of production and the kind of market opportunity that you're trying to build. You can't spend 20 crores in a movie and spend 80 crores in promoting it and hope that the movie will be a big success. Obviously, there is a sense of proportionality around it. And also, I think given the nature of the industry and, I don't think it's very easy to arrive at any kind of consensus in the film industry on how much to spend on advertising a movie, right? I think it is really up to everybody's own economic sense of what works good for them in terms of the investment that they want to make and the returns that they're expecting. I'm sorry, I'm missing the first question that she asked. So could you just repeat that?
No, that was the festival time where the big stars really want their movies to be released. Will that still?
Right. No, that's very true. And I mean, obviously, festive periods were the periods when people used to be free, back at home with families. But look at this, we've been back at home with families for the last 3 months. So I'm not saying it is festive. It's a very terrible situation out there. But the fact is that people have had family time available. And during the festive period, obviously big releases come in. This year, the festive releases, if the corona situation does not improve significantly by then, will be such that the big releases will come on OTT instead of television. And I know that sorry, instead of theaters. And that is the announcement everybody is making. More importantly, I think the kind of expectation that people have. Look, the clock has been reset by almost 3 to 4 months. So you have a pipeline of content that is coming out, which is about to go to theaters. Suddenly you apply a break for 3 to 4 months. So what happens then when you release the break, you have a lot of content coming out of the gate trying to get the attention. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, if in November or October, the theaters open up, you have like at least 30, 40 good movies waiting to find screen in the theater. Suddenly you have a problem of plenty. Today theaters are not able to get any movie and then they will have too many movies. So not everybody may get a chance and some of them may actually find way into television or OTT, even in spite of the fact that theaters are open. So it will be a mixed bag to my mind.
Pradeep, I'm going to merge two questions together. But before that, I want to say what Pieces has to say. She says, no lie, this webinar has made me fall in love with Pradeep. I'm just giving you the compliment.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to sort of give you, shed a light on an industry that I love so much. I feel very passionate about it. And I think that's what I love about everybody and everybody in IBG is that they're all so invested, so emotionally connected to their business. So we are passionate people and passionate people are the ones who, make a success of their businesses. So good luck to you and all the best.
Thank you. So we have a question from Savio. How will artificial intelligence support the industry? And Shivani says she's keen on asking about AR and advanced digital technologies impact on the media and entertainment world.
Okay. So the two are little interconnected. So let me take the AI piece first. The whole artificial intelligence as an emerging data science or technology science is a very interesting field. Now, artificial intelligence has applications everywhere, and hence it has application in media and entertainment as well. Now, how do you apply it? At the most base level, you can use artificial intelligence to simulate situations that are unheard of. Even 20 years ago, and now it is almost 20 years since Matrix was released, right? Um, and the Wachowski brothers movies. And obviously, with Matrix, you got a universe which was very strangely defined. Now, ever since then, the march of technology has led that today you can have all kinds of universes coming out which are unreal. I mean, look at Avatar, which is almost 10 years ago, if I'm right, or look at movies released in the recent times as well. So, creation of virtual universes uses AI technologies, which is definitely important. One very interesting field that is going to emerge is artificial humans. Now imagine if you had a star who has passed away, and I know that this is a much younger audience, but if you are a Rajendra Kumar or a Shami Kapoor fan, now you have a library of their movies available, so you know their nuances, facial expressions, reactions to various situations. What if you could prime all of this database and create virtual humans to interact with the real humans in a movie? So you could potentially have a scenario in which Ranbir Kapoor is actually dancing with Shami Kapoor right next to each other, around a tree and celebrating, which technically would have been impossible, but because of artificial intelligence is possible. So the whole universe of entertainment is going to rapidly change with AI coming in. And like I said, the question was linked. So when you look at virtual reality, it is part of a manifestation of AI technology. So AI is the basic coding and the engineering that goes into creation of AR and VR tools. And AR VR tools get more refined by use not just of AI but also the creative instinct. You may have the best of artificial intelligence tool, but if you don't know what to do with it, what do you do? I mean, you can use artificial intelligence to recreate a rock or recreate a moving artist. Which one do you want to do? And if an artist, which artist? I know there are, fans of musicians that have passed away. There are fans of Michael Jackson and, a lot of other singers that have gone away. How about recreating them? So there is a universe, an opportunity out there. And how about making them act in storylines that they may have never acted in? So, possibilities are endless with this.
Sure. We have Raj who would like to know, is comedy genre web series a good idea and acceptable, as most web series as of now are drama, thriller and suspense based?
I would say that comedy is definitely a genre which is significantly in demand, not just because it is light and easy on the heart, easy on the ears, easy on the eyes, coming out of COVID, but in general as well. The challenge with comedy is there is a difference between being funny and humorous and being slapstick. a lot of people think that if you pass comments on gender, on race, color, complexion, social situations, you know uh, that it becomes comedic. I think if you have and you're able to develop content that has a fine sense of comedy, which has to do with situations, the challenges of life, and the curveball that life throws at us and how people deal with it. There are plenty of humorous situations which relate to you. I'm telling you, as a content producer, you should produce content that you would like to watch, right? And once you put the filter of if I am comfortable watching this, if I will enjoy watching this with my wife and my kids and my parents sitting in the drawing room with me on a television or with my family in a theater, then that's the content that should come out. People try to separate their lives. Okay, say, okay, ye to dhanda hai, this is business. I will create slapstick comedy with cheap humor that will go out, and that never flies. Any content that is in the comedy genre, which is good, well thought out, well casted, good casting and acting talent is planned on this. We are absolutely happy, and I can tell you, every OTT platform, every production house would be happy to look at such a content.
Sure. Is there a structured way to contact OTT content curators? Is what Satish would like to know.
OTT content curators, which means the content supplier. So the question would be that if you want to contact them, uh, I would say there are certain industry forums in Bombay and in other parts of the world that allows this. I'm not aware of any structured database that's available that allows all of the content creators to be contacted, because content creation again depends. So there are some people who work on mythologicals; they've got their own setup. There are smaller production houses that operate out of smaller studios and rent out studios as need be. So between small producers, mid-size, and large producers, there is a wide variety available. If you are wanting to acquire content, either for a television channel or for an OTT that you may be part of, I think the best bet to look at is that you look at the databases and credits of content that you like. So, for example, and I'm assuming this question is coming from somebody who wants to buy content because he's talking about reaching out to content curators. You see the content on any of the streaming platforms, the ones that you like, look at the credits roll either at the beginning or at the end of the content. You will get the names of the people that are there, and then you go to old-fashioned Google search, find them on LinkedIn, Facebook, figure out a way to connect with them. There is no substitute to that hard work. I don't think a standard database exists.
We have a music lover, Rohan, who says, what about songs? Gradually, the quality of music is deteriorating. While the variety of content is increasing, it's sad that they don't really create good music anymore. We still strive on songs which were in the late 90s. How can this generation really benefit from good film music?
Rohan, let me tell you something. Every generation believes that the generation music of the generations before them was crap, and their music is the best music. If you're born in 70s, your 80s music will be ideal for you because those were your teens years, which is where you got the impressions of the quality of music that you like coming into you. So if you're saying you love 90s music and you don't like today's music, I'm taking a guess and I may be completely wrong. You are perhaps born in the 80s, because that means that you've grown up listening to music in the 90s, and that is what works well with you. Ask the kids of today, those who are born in 2000s, they like their own music. And so the point is, every decade or so the taste and the kind of music changes. I mean, I know I'm born in the 70s, and I still love Lata ji's songs, and some of those songs are timeless. Just the sheer quality of voice, and not dependency or on the instruments, but the sheer mellifluous sweetness of the voice, the words of the lyrics, they make you feel so good about the music. But not everybody may appreciate that, which is perfectly all right. So I would say that instead of expecting the current talent pool to suddenly change to your taste, I think the process of discovery, Rohan, for you should be figure out music that you like and listen to a large part of it, and then find people who echo or produce similar kind of content. And that's the best bet that you have. I'm sorry I don't have a more evolved answer, but I think that'll do for a while.
Okay, so that is taking us towards the musical way, but we have a question which says, sorry, this is the last question. I know we're running short of time, but we have plenty of them, which says that could you please ask Pradeep about Eros and STX merger and how can we compare it with Netflix? American investors are waiting for more PR releases and care rating reinstatement. Could you kindly highlight?
Sure. Thanks. No, I addressed that earlier. Like I said, that the regulatory process for closing the merger is underway, and we hope to be able to announce closing shortly. I don't know exactly when. And I think both in terms of the market opportunities and some of the strengths on content side and global market that we are bringing up, I had shared. I really don't have any incremental information to share at this point of time. And like I said, since this is a regulatory process running out of US in terms of the merger getting closed, I'm perhaps not the right person to be able to comment on it. We are hoping, though, I would only say that as an investor, if you're invested in our business, you should look at our business as one that is based on sound fundamentals, which is looking at building good quality content for great audiences worldwide. And I think that should give you enough faith that our capabilities are sound, our management team is sound, and that we will create wonderful content for entertaining people in times to come across the world.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I think more or less, it's already time up. So yeah, they told me to. Thank you so much for being here with us. And Pradeep, it's, seeing your smile, seeing your excitement. We all feel we are still into the goody-goody world. And we've actually forgotten the past 4 months, what we've gone through. And in fact, we're going to broaden our horizons now and really be creative and think much more in everything else. And a lot of them, in fact, have questions. If they have content for OTT, how to really approach them, vice versa, where suppliers and those who really have the content would like to really meet people who have the content. So if you could connect with IBG, they will definitely be able to help you. We are sharing the email ID of Pradeep Dwivedi. Please feel free to get in touch with him and to get in touch with IBG for further details. I'm really thankful to all of you for being here with us. And Pradeep, I have absolutely no words to thank you. With a global humble thanks, I want to thank you for the brilliant insight that you've given to us about the entertainment. And now, after listening to you, we conclude with entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. We'll kickstart once again.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much,
It's my honor. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. And I think you were a wonderful host. Thanks to you, Vikashji, Priya, and everybody at IBG. Stay safe, keep the distancing alive, and we'll see each other on the other side in an in-person meeting at IBG.
Sure. Vikash, over to you. Vikash would like to say something. Yes, Vikash.
So I can never be such an exciting speaker as we have just heard. Amongst the best hours that I've spent till now. Very interesting. Thank you very much. There are certain sets of questions that IBG would like to work with Eros, which I'll take offline another day. Sure, again, thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Please stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Pradeep, just one sec, Priya, if you're around and if you'd like to just thank everyone. Yes,
thanks everyone for joining this webinar. I'm sure we didn't realize how this hour passed. It just flew away. And as far as I'm concerned, Pradeep, this was the most engaging webinar that I have attended in these times. Thanks a lot and see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. Absolutely. Pradeep, one sec, Pradeep. We promised everyone for a photo walk. I mean, you belong to the entertainment. So can we have everyone's videos on? Thank you very much to the IBG family for being really obedient and really having your audio on mute. But right now, I want your videos on. You can have your audio on mute, it's fine. Everyone, videos on for a group photo op, please. With Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi. Thank you so much, Pradeep. I mean, that was really enlightening for all of us, and we could have maximum attendance, today itself. So what everyone really appreciated is absolutely what we really mean it. So everyone, can we all come together for a group photo op? Girish, would you want to tell people to really get in together? So I'll just check if all the videos are on. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And a warm hello to everyone. Bahut shukriya. Hum sab ghar par hain, so it's absolutely fine to be in any avatar of yours. It's all about having your minds present here with us. So thank you so much. So Girish, we're going to have the countdown of 3 with the best smile. 3, 2, and let's click. 3, 2, smile. Girish, are we done with that? Yeah, thank you so much. Once again, global humble thanks to you, Pradeep. And in case we're going to have one more session, because we have so many questions, and of course you've spoken about this world, everyone is going to definitely connect with you on behalf of India. We thank all of you for being here with us. Thank you very much, and thank you to Pradeep. Absolutely for your valuable time and your insights and your inputs, and everything looks brighter now. And for all those, well, our lovely business entrepreneurs who are here with us on IBG Group. Come on, it's time for you to get into action and get into sleepless nights and try something which is very unique. It's your own idea, which will really work as a miracle. Thank you very much to all of you. My name is Simran Ahuja, and I'm truly thankful to IBG for giving me this platform to be here with all you beautiful souls. Humble thanks to all of you.